So the recording is started. You can write your roll numbers in the chat box. Right, so let's start. In the last lecture, I think we have started discussion on Wi-Fi. Right, so today this is a tutorial session. Still, we will exchange the tutorial with lecture. I mean to say, for this ISC, we have to complete 3 units. And I told you 3 units are Unit 1, Unit 2, and Unit 4. Right, so some of the part from Unit 4 is remaining. So today I will conduct a lecture, and next time we will discuss Unit 3. Means next lecture will be of tutorial. Right, I told you third unit we will be discussing in the tutorial section. Right, so today we will have a lecture. Next lecture we will convert it into a tutorial. Right. So coming to the point, Wi-Fi, right? So I hope the screen is visible. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. So this was the point that we were discussing. This one. Right. So like BLE and that Zigbee, this Wi-Fi is also standardized by IEEE, and we have mentioned there okay, they are standards like 802.11. There are some classes like class A, B, and G. After that, we have seen some of the benefits like it's a wireless Ethernet, extended access, cost reduction, mobility, and flexibility. These are the benefits of Wi-Fi. After that, we have studied this. What are different Wi-Fi components, which involves wireless station, then base station, then coordination function. These are the basic components in a basic service set. Right. So after that, we have studied what are different operating modes in which there are two operating modes. One is ad hoc. Simply, you can consider that ad hoc mode as a temporary mode. Right. So in which two devices immediately get connected, transfer the data, and get disconnected. But we have another operating modes called as the infrastructure mode, and in that infrastructure mode we have a complete fixed permanent setup called as a distribution system. Right, so such a distributed system will have a connection. It will keep on providing the services to access point. Right, and access points in turn will have its own coverage. They have their own communication range, and whatever devices that comes into that communication range will be provided with different services required by that device. Right, so this is what infrastructure mode is. After that, we have studied this protocol stack. Right, so in a protocol stack we have upper layers who are functioning very similar to that of um, tcp TCP module, but here this data link layer is divided into two groups like DLL and MAC, and this physical layer. Right, so physical layer basically intended here for modulation, then encoding, decoding, then bit by bit transmission, right? So bit by bit transmission at RF spectrum, which is assigned, which is a kind of ISM spectrum. Then we have data link layer, which is of two type. First one is media access control, MAC, right? So in MAC, it basically control the transmission of data. It is responsible for mobility management, and it uses CSMA CA. These are the protocols works at this MAC layer. Then with that we have seen this MAC frame, right? So MAC frame is the additional part with the payload. Along with the data, this a frame will be transmitted, which includes BSS ID, which is referred as base station identifier. Basic service set identifier. So in which basic service set that this transmitter belongs to, transmitter and receiver belongs to. After that, we have this destination address, which is final. Then we have source address, which is initial. So the origin of data is nothing but source address. Address of that origin is referred as source address. And last user where that data is going is referred as the address of a destination, right? So in between, the receiver and transmitter may change, because hop to hop means node to node, the data is going to be switched. So this receiver address and transmitter address will be different in every communication link, right? So final destination and source destination, final address of that destination and this source address, they are specified here, right? So DA and SA is a destination address and source address. In between, many of the times this receiver address and transmitter address keeps on changing, and that depends upon the communication link. Multiple links are there, so that's why this receiver address and transmitter address will keep on changing. Then we came across this Wi-Fi characteristics, right? So let's discuss on the Wi-Fi characteristics. A lot of characteristics are discussed here, and the sequence is same like we have done in BLE and ZigBee. So one by one, let us discuss. First one is range. Range of Wi-Fi is around 50 meters in open field, right? So if you have open field, the range of such Wi-Fi will be of 50 meters. It would be less actually in case of obstacles in the communication line. So through the walls and doors, it will not pass at a larger distance. So if the open field is there, then 50 meter is the range of Wi-Fi. Then of course that again depends upon the way in which the signals are transmitted, the kind of antennas that are used in the Wi-Fi access point. Then throughput, a maximum throughput observed is 70 Mbps, right? So here we have a range freedom, right? So these are some of the characteristics. After that, we have no setup costs. It is advantage actually. No cabling is required, so no wires are required, so no setup, no cost is involved related with the cabling and making wired connection. No such aspects are involved here, so cost is reduced. After that, it's a flexible. Why it is flexible? You can add number of devices into a existing network. If you talk about your let's say CAD lab, which is having a switch of let's say 20 computers, and in future suppose you want to add some computers into that lab, it's not possible because you have a switch with 20 ports, and only 20 ports are going to be provide, only those 20 ports will provide a network connectivity with the 20 computers. If you want to add some computers in future, it's not possible. But in case of Wi-Fi, you can have that provision to add the computers, add the host, add the devices, network devices into the network. And this is the provision, this is the flexibility uh, provided with Wi-Fi. Then we have a mobile access. Mobile access means what? You can change your position without disconnecting the services related with the internet. That is what mobile access is. So your services will be continued without changing, without disturbing your existing services. Then we have operating frequency. Now here the careful understanding is required. We have seen there are three different standards specified by IEEE. One is 802.11.a. Second one is 802.11.b, and third one is 802.11g. Right. So the frequencies or the frequency range which is used for those different standards is like this. 802.11a is using 5.3 gigahertz frequency band. This 802.11a is making use of 5.3 gigahertz frequency, and this 802.11b and 802.11g, these two standards are making use of 2.4 gigahertz frequency, which is our ISM band, right? So ISM band is free to use. So these two standards of Wi-Fi are making use of 2.4 gigahertz frequency. Next is data rate, right? So of course the data rate would be different for different standards. For 802.11a, 54 Mbps data rate is observed. So with this 802.11a, you can transmit a data with a data rate of 54 Mbps. And this also means 802.11g is also operating at is also sending the data at 54 Mbps, whereas 802.11b is able to transmit a data at 11 Mbps, right? So similarly, we can understand, we can see the modulation technique as well. For those three different IEEE standards of Wi-Fi, we have different modulation techniques. For example, 802.11a, we have OFDM. OFDM stands for orthogonal frequency division multiplexing. This multiplexing, this modulation technique is used with Wi-Fi 802.11a. Then we have 802.11b. This 802.11b makes use of DSS. DSSS. It stands for direct sequence spread spectrum. Right. So direct sequence spread spectrum is used for 802.11b. And last one is 802.11g. It's also making use of OFDM. Right. So orthogonal frequency division multiplexing is used for this standard. Then we have a bandwidth. Bandwidth of 20 to 22 megahertz is obtained. How many channels can be possible? 13 to 14 channels with one access point is supported. So these are the some of characteristics. Now moving on to the Wi-Fi limitations. There are some limitations related with Wi-Fi. One of them is its speed is slower than cable network. Now here I'm comparing the Wi-Fi network with cable network, right? So if you compare with the cable network, the speed of Wi-Fi is little bit less. But if you compare this Wi-Fi with other wireless communication technologies, you will find the speed of Wi-Fi is more than other wireless communication techniques. Right, so this is advantage for wireless, but if you compare with the cable, the speed of this Wi-Fi is lesser or slower than cable network. Second one is range is affected by various medium, and we know that this Wi-Fi and the network they feel the opposition due to the obstacle in the communication path, right? So they travel best through open space, but the speed of data rate will be reduced by walls, glass, and water, etc., right? So the speed of data, or you can say data rate, is affected by different obstacles in the medium. Then we have security, right? So there are greater exposure to the risk because anyone immediately or as of a sudden can get into the network, and they get the unauthorized access to the data, right? So most of the time you may use VPNs to bypass the Wi-Fi and firewalls, and let's say kind of thing that we have in a Spheri campus is firewall. This is a cyber ROM, right? So there are some VPNs who can bypass the access, or you can get into the network. You can access the services provided by network simply just by bypassing the firewall. Then once the unauthorized access is granted, then we are just compromising the data, right? And that simply just a denial of the services happens sometimes, which may lose the packets, which may lose the data, and very prone to interfere with 2.4 gigahertz. Now, as I said, 2.4 gigahertz is being used by BLE. Its same band is being used by Zigbee. Again, this is being used by Wi-Fi as well, right? So Wi-Fi, BLE, Zigbee, they are making use of 2.4 gigahertz band. So it's very prone to get mixed with each other, right? So there are many other technologies who are operating at 2.4, and they create a noise to other system, right? So unwanted signals going to be mixed with each other, and they would create a noise. So these are the limitations related with the Wi-Fi. Then applications. There are many of the applications which you can list it out. Few of them I have listed here. First one is electronic devices. You can find many of the advanced electronic gadgets which are equipped with Wi-Fi. Then most of the companies use Wi-Fi to create a wireless network within the companies, so as to provide the network services to each and every individual working in that company. Then we have phone companies such as they use the Wi-Fi to create a hotspot for their users to get free internet access. This is another application. Then you may find gaming companies that make use of Wi-Fi to synchronize their products and global network usage, right? So then we have industrial process and control applications. So even though you are not on the net, you can have Wi-Fi connectivity to control the applications in industries. Then we have emergency applications. Then in a battlefield, you create a small network. Disaster situation, surveillance, cameras, vertical market, right? So all those things can make use of such a Wi-Fi devices, right? So these are the applications which make use of Wi-Fi devices. Then let's move on to the next point called as RFID, right? So what do we mean by RFID? RFID stands for radio frequency identification. See, I just have completed this part, and immediately I'm going to assign you the homework. Which is just a comparison between this BLE, Zigbee, and Wi-Fi, because one more technology we have covered now. Right. So I think we have discussed this BLE versus Zigbee. So I will add upon one thing here, versus Wi-Fi. Right? And this task has to be done by you. So I will simply add one more column here. And it's a Wi-Fi. Right. So with reference to that only you have to complete. So here you will find 802.11 A, B, and G. Right. So likewise, you can get this thing completed. Now let us move on to RFID. RFID stands for radio frequency identification. Right. So radio frequency identification is the long form. Now, what do you mean by RFID, and when this RFID came in existence, and what is the use of RFID? Can someone tell? What is the use of RFID? Well, without wasting much of time, because we have to complete this unit today before this ISE. As I said, it's a radio frequency identification, and it makes use of radio frequency tags to identify the real objects. Right. So its use is just to identify the objects. Right. So identify the tags which are assigned to a real objects. So simply, it's not going to communicate. It's not going to transfer the data. So this communication technology is not going to transmit the data. It's not going to it's not going to be used for communication, but it is going to be used for identifying the objects, right? Because we have some certain things, certain identification numbers which are stored in the tag, and once we scan it, we will be able to identify that number. So the number is going to be sent wirelessly, and that technology is called as a RFID. Right. Then we have RFID tag, or you can say we assign the ID to an object, and then we link that ID to additional information about that object. Right. And then we link that ID to complementary information, and finally we will be able to find the similar objects. Right. So in a wild forest, how we can keep a track of animals? This is the RFID technique. The solution is RFID technique. So you have some RFID tags, you can attach, you can fix it with that animal, and we leave it. So we simply track where is that tag, and we have assigned a number. Right. So most of the time we find these RFID tags in the malls and let's say cloth shops, etc. So if you have some RFID tags in the market, let's say in the shop, or let's say in the factory, or let's say in the godowns, you can easily keep a track of a dead stock. Dead stock means the number of or let's say we can manage the inventory in the godowns. So how we can do it? Let's say I'm having a godown of this thing, computers, or let's say CPU, and how I can keep a track of number of things, number of CPUs available in that stock? By using the RFID, right? So I will assign a specially designed, I will assign a specific ID to a specific CPU. That may include the number, that may include the specification, that may include the additional features of that CPU. And I will keep it inside the godown. Once the selling of that CPU is done, once it is going to be out of that stock, I will simply scan it, and I will simply reduce it from the total count. So whenever I will check on the computer screen, whatever is present inside the stock, that will be reflected on the screen, right? So whenever we sell some product, a corresponding identification will be subtracted from existing stock. So this way you can keep a record of inventory, whatever dead stock you have in your this go down, or let's say anything storage unit. Similarly, same kind of this thing you can find in the malls, shopping malls. Suppose you are buying a shirt, and if you try to take the shirt without making a payment, uh, suddenly this alarm starts ringing, and all that things happens because the RFID tag is attached with that shirt. And unless and until you take that shirt to the counter, the person, the cashier scan the RFID and mark that RFID as a paid. Means what? You have paid the amount whatever is assigned for that RFID tag. Then only you are allowed to take that shirt out of the shop, right? So this is how RFID is being used. Right. So there are three types of components in RFID technology. One is transceiver. One of them is transceiver, which is called as a RFID tag reader. First one is transceiver, which is called as a reader. Right. So RFID reader is the first component. Second component is transponder, which is called as a RFID tag, which contains 1 bit to 128 bit data if it is active tag, right? So there are first two things I told you. One is reader, that is nothing but transceiver. Second one is transponder, which is also called as RFID tag, which stores data around 128 bits. And third component of this RFID technology is an antenna. So RFID works with three different components. One is tag, or one is tag, second one is reader, and third one is antenna. Right. So I hope the components are understood. Next, the diagram which is shown here is basically a magnetic, or you can say it's a inductive coupling type of RFID technology. Right. So when this transceiver or tag reader comes in a contact with RFID tag, this is a tag actually, which consists of IC or microprocessor, which holds 128 bit data. When this transceiver comes into the contact of this RFID tag, immediately the number which is stored on this 128 bit space is going to be transmitted to this reader. This is what called as a tag reader. This 128 bit data is transmitted to this reader, right? So after that, this data is being processed it would be taken on a computer. If the issue is related with the payment, if the payment is released, then RFID tag can be removed from that shirt if you are buying a shirt, and then you are allowed to take the shirt with you out of the mall, right? So let us understand what are the different types of this RFID tag are exist. There are some types of tags in which first one is passive passive tag. I'm talking about the types of tags, right? So in which first type of tag, let me make a note of this. Types of tags, right? And the first one is passive tags. Then we have active tags, right? So let us understand the passive tag first. Passive tag means it's do not requiring any energy, so no battery. So battery is not involved. directly you are having some sort of copper lines fetched, copper lines are etched on that this thing tag, and immediately you can identify the number which is stored on that tag. So no battery required. So no battery required for passive tags. Then since battery is not required, low cost. This is another feature of passive tag. Then it derive a power from reader itself. So tag do not have any battery. It do not require power. It's a low cost, and whatever power is required, it will be uh, derived from reader itself. Power is derived from reader. And lifetime, if I talk about lifetime, it's having unlimited life. It's having unlimited life because it do not involves the battery. But one of the drawback of this RFID passive tag is it requires strong reader. It requires a strong reader. So these are the things about a passive tag. Similarly, we can list out few points related with active tags as well. So active tags, yeah. So these are the points related with active passive tag. Now let us talk about active tags. Active tags are onboard transceiver. They are onboard transceiver. They are onboard transceiver, and they are having long range because they are battery operated. They make use of battery. So for their internal operation, they require auxiliary supply, and battery is required for that purpose. So range, I can say long range. Since they are battery operated, range of such tag is more. Imagine you are having a battery tag, you are having a tag which is having a battery, right? So the range of detection would be more. That is why I have written there longer range. Then since battery involved, high cost is one of the disadvantage. Then lifetime, if you talk about, it's having finite life because battery itself comes with some limitations. And data rate can be, a higher data rate can be transmitted. High data rate for transmission. Right. So some of the points, these are the points, some of which are contradictory, or you can say you would be easily able to compare passive and active tags, right? So if I ask you in the ISC, what is the difference between passive tag and active tag, you should be able to tell those differences, right? Next one is read only tag. Read only tag is having some of the features, but let me write here read only. Second type of tag is read oblique write. Right. So we will come to this read write afterwards, but before that, read only means it's a factory programmed. Factory programmed. Factory program means what? This identification number is stored in the tag at factory itself while it's manufacturing. तुम्ही प्रोजेक्ट मध्ये व्हाईट कलरचे टॅग्स बघितले असतील, बरोबर आहे. प्रोजेक्ट विद्यार्थी प्रोजेक्ट करतात त्यामध्ये पांढऱ्या कलरचे RFID टॅग्स असतात. दे आर फॅक्टरी प्रोग्राम, दे आर रीड ओनली टॅग्स. You cannot change the identification number which is stored in that, right? So they are factory programmed, and usually they are chipless. Chipless means they do not have any kind of chip, they do not have any kind of IC inside it, right? So means what? You are not able to edit the content stored on that read only tag. This is what called as a read only tag. Next one is read write tag. So read write tag is having exactly opposite things of this one. Read only tag. So in read write tag we have a facility like you can save data, you can save data on this read write tag. Second one, it's having memory. If it's having a memory, you would be able to store the data, you would be able to store the identification number, right? Also, you can change the ID. So whatever ID assigned to that tag, it can be changed. But the cost is more. Cost of such a read-write tag is more. So these are the things which are related with tags, different types of tags. Is it clear? These are the 4 types of tags, RFID tags that we have. Now, if I ask you to compare any one of them, you should be able to compare those tags, right? So with this basic understanding, let us move ahead for next point, that is modulation technique. So modulation technique that we have for this RFID is number one. There are some types of modulation techniques used in RFID. First one is AM. AM stands for amplitude modulation. Second type of modulation that can be used in RFID is frequency shift keying. That is what called as FSK, which is which stands for frequency shift keying, right? And then one more type of modulation technique that can be used with RFID is PSK. So PSK stands for phase shift keying, right? So these 3 modulation techniques can be used for RFID. Then we have frequency ranges. At what frequencies this RFID can work? So there are 3 groups. One is low group. Means it can work in let's say 100 to 500 kilohertz. This is the first group of frequency, 100 to 500 kilohertz frequency group. This this can be used for short range and low data rate communication. After that, we have intermediate. Right, so in intermediate, you can have a communication in a frequency range. Frequency range is 10 megahertz to 16 megahertz. 10 to 16 megahertz is the range of communication. Then last one is high. So where this intermediate is required, where medium range data rate is expected, in that case you can transmit a data at 10 to 16 megahertz. Next one is high frequency range. High frequency range, that simply means it's 2.4 gigahertz, or you can transmit it at 5.8 gigahertz. So this is high range of frequency. When it is required, when the large range is required, then whenever we require high data rate, you can go for high range of frequency for operation, and it of course requires high power. So these are some of the things related with the modulation technique and the frequency of operation. So at three different frequencies, you can transmit the data with RFID tags. Right? Then, yes, RFID architecture. Now, this RFID architecture would involve only 3 points. Only three components are there in RFID architecture. If you think this, if you see this architecture called as RFID architecture, it involves only 3 layers, very three basic simple layers. And let me tell you, this is not even standardized. So the protocols are not going to be followed here for communication. So if you do not follow any of the protocol, it's okay. The data will be reliably transmitted because it's not following any standard. IEEE has do not have any standard for RFID. जसं आपण BLE साठी 802.15.1 स्टँडर्ड आहे असं म्हणत होतो. जसं झिगबी साठी 802.15.4 हे स्टँडर्ड आहे. जसं वायफाय साठी 802.11 स्टँडर्ड आहे. तसं RFID साठी कुठलंही स्टँडर्ड नाही. So the thing is, it's very feasible to have the communication without loss of data. Only 3 basic layers are mentioned here: application layer, communication layer, and physical layer. So application layer is responsible for identification of that object. So the identification number that goes to the application layer, and it decides which object it corresponds to. This is the only simple task assigned to application layer. Then we have communication layer. It simply avoid a collision. Means what? Suppose you are having two tags placed at the same distance. So this communication simply avoid the communication. It will take one identification number at a time. So the protocol is written into the communication layer, and its task is to avoid the collision. That's it. If you are reading 2 or more number of RFID tags at a time, the data should not be collided. The data collision should not happen. This task is performed by communication layer. And last one is physical layer. Physical layer ensure the radio frequencies. It ensures the electromagnetic waves. So bit by bit transmission is the only thing. No synchronization, no multiplexing, no this thing, preamble, then header, footer, etc. Nothing. So very simple architecture that the identification RFID have. Only 3 layers, very few protocols, and RFID tag, RFID reader works very nicely. Right? Simply you need to scan on the, you need to move on this reader on the tag, your data will be captured. That's it. So this is simplest way of a communication in wireless technology. Right? So with that understanding, move on. One of this thing is mentioned here. RFID system is mentioned here. Suppose you are having a tag over here which is attached with one of the object. So this reader will have the antenna module which radiate the electromagnetic waves at a specific frequency. I told you those frequency high, intermediate, and low. Right? So appropriate frequency, at that appropriate frequency the electromagnetic waves are transmitted by the antenna, and those waves will be reflected back from the tag. Those reflected waves will be transmitted to the module or reader, and it will go back to the host on the computer, it will be easily identifying what this identification number corresponds to which object. Suppose I have, let's say, RFID number, let's say 11011101. If that number is received, the computer knows that this number is corresponds to, let's say, cotton shirt of Peter England of this size and this color. Right, so a customer immediately can make a payment, and the RFID tag from that shirt could be removed. Afterwards, the same tag can be reused. Same tag can be utilized once again when the new stock comes into the cloth shop, and you can assign a new object to that identification number associated with that tag. This is how a simple mechanism utilized for RFID tagging. Right. So with that, let us list out the characteristics. Some of the characteristics are listed over here. We have RFID data transmission is in the form of electromagnetic waves, right? So electromagnetic waves are transmitted from the antenna, and it will be received back after getting reflected from the tag. Then we have data this frequency ranges, low, intermediate, and high frequency ranges. Low frequency range 100 to 500, intermediate 10 to 16. Then high frequency range, basically it's having one more band in the low range, and higher range is 2.4 to 5.8 gigahertz. Modulation, amplitude modulation, or frequency shift keying, or phase shift keying. And most important is range. Range would be 10 centimeter, 1 मीटर अँड 200 मीटर. आता तुम्ही म्हणाल RFID टॅगची एवढी कुठं काय रेंज असते काय? ऑफकोर्स, इफ यू आर ऑपरेटिंग ॲट 2.4 gigahertz or 5.8 gigahertz, the range of RFID tag is 200 meter. Right? So these are the aspects of RFID. If I move on, applications of RFID. So very first and most important application of RFID is barcode. So barcode is nowadays being utilized everywhere. Even in your university examination, the barcodes are interfaced with your answer sheet, and a particular number is assigned and printed on your answer sheet. This is being utilized to hide the identity of student, and the answer sheet is going to be identified with one identification number, right? So the identity will not be revealed to, let's say, the person who is checking the answer sheet, right? So this is one of the important application of RFID, barcode. Then we have license plates. So in apart from the number which is stored there, we can assign a name plate. We can assign a tag to a vehicle which would include the vehicle number, vehicle registration number. Then we can have a social security number, this thing, student identification, right? So some of the universities have adopted this. Imagine the scenario when you are having this student identity card along with the RFID. So when you scan this, your attendance will be automatically marked. Then you can assign the serial numbers, car keys. If you simply take the car keys to the screen, it will immediately scan the identification number stored on that car key, and your car will be turned on wirelessly, right? So database keys, livestock tagging, as I said, the example of this CPUs in a go down. Then wild animal tracking is also possible with RFID. Electronic article surveillance, right? So electronic articles can be identified with RFID tags. Automated toll collection, which has been implemented in India now. That RFID tags are placed on every vehicle, and automatically the toll is going to be deducted from the account which is uh, actually stored with that RFID tag, right? So the owner information is stored along with that identification number. Smart cards uh, tags are attached with the vehicles. Then we have airline baggage tracking. So in the airline, you don't allow to carry your bag. They are going to be stored somewhere else in the airlines. So at the end, at the start, one tag associated with your name is assigned and attached with your bag, and that bag will be given to you at the end of your journey while leaving the airport. You might have seen such tags interfaced with bags. Then postage package tracking. So if you have sent some speed post, or let's say courier, one RFID tracking tags are interfaced with that courier, that postal package, and tracking of such a postal package can happen at every junction. And finally, the attendance, as I said, can be a future scope for RFID applications, right? So RFID attendance system can come into the existence. Limitations. What are the limitations? As I said, it's not going to be standardized by any of the agency like IEEE. So lack of standard. There will not be a protocol of communication. तुम्ही जसं त्या टॅग वरती स्कॅनर फिरवाल तसा तो टॅगचा नंबर तुमच्या रीडर मध्ये रेकॉर्ड होईल. देर इज नो स्टँडर्ड ऍट ऑल. म्हणजे ट्रान्समीटर ट्रान्समिट करण्यासाठी रेडी आहे का, रिसिव्हर रिसिव्ह करण्यासाठी रेडी आहे का, all those things are being checked in OSI reference model, or let's say TCP IP protocols, or let's say in Bluetooth, or let's say in Zigbee, but it's not the case in RFID. जसं तुम्ही RFID समोर आणता, it will be scanned. Then short range. The range of this RFID is very less if you are operating at low frequencies, and the cost of such RFID tags is very high. With that, let me add one more slide here because I want a comparison of everything. So here I will add this slide, and I would like to add one more this thing here, that is your Zigbee. So you should be able to compare this BLE, then Wi-Fi, Zigbee, and RFID with respect to all those points which are mentioned on the left hand side, right? So I hope you understood what are different wireless technologies, how we can compare those technologies in short. Just to conclude this fourth unit, let us talk a little bit about some other technologies that are there, which are advanced technologies. Some of you can work on it for your projects, etc. Let us talk on this quickly. Li-Fi, light fidelity, is a wireless optical networking technology that has came in existence. Specifically, it is the form of visible light communication. So data is being transmitted in the form of visible light. This system makes use of light emitting diode. So LEDs are used to transmit the data. म्हणजे मी इकडून एका बाजूने लाईट ऑन ऑफ केली तर the sequence or the binary sequence can be trapped by the receiver at the other end. So how this data actually transmitted over a light? To send such a data over a light, Li-Fi system requires a strong, robust light source like LED bulbs. इकडून एका बाजूने LED ऑन ऑफ केले की दुसऱ्या बाजूला तुम्ही त्याचा डिटेक्टर प्लेस करू शकता, किती पल्सेस काउंट करू शकता, त्याची फ्रिक्वेन्सी काउंट करू शकता, कोणत्या ड्युरेशनला ऑन, कोणत्या ड्युरेशनला ऑफ, 0 आहे, 1 आहे, 001 आहे, 010 आहे. You can maybe easily you are able to detect it with the photodiodes, right? So LEDs are the different from halogen and filament bulbs, as they do not require to be a warm up. As previously stated, they are semiconductors and they start up quickly and emit the light according to the current phase, current passed through them. So when you turn on such LED at the other end, you should be able to detect the light, right? So the Li-Fi technology completely based on transmission and reception of the light. That's it, right? So this is another technology, but not in the syllabus. So I have taken in content beyond syllabus, right? So apart from this, if you have any doubt, you can ask. Apart from this, if you are having any doubt, you can ask. If you don't have any doubt, let me announce the unit 4 is over. Unit 4 is finished here. For your ISC, the syllabus is unit 1, unit 2, unit 4. Handwritten notes of all those 4 units are shared with you. Apart from this, if you have any query related with ISC, you can ask. ISC 1 साठी तुम्हाला सिलेबस असणार आहे युनिट 1, युनिट 2 आणि युनिट 4. ISC 2 साठी आपण युनिट 3 ठेवूयात. ISC 2 मध्ये जो युनिट 3 आहे तो घेतला जाईल, पण आता ISC 1 मध्ये युनिट 1, 2 आणि 4 असेल. तीनही युनिट संपलेले आहेत. कोणाला काही शंका असेल तर विचारू शकता. If no doubts, you are allowed to leave.